What is up, guys? Welcome back to the 2018 modded career mode. Sorry for a little bit of a break. We was helping out Joe, or some of you guys know him as Eterno, with pretty big mod that'll be coming up eventually soon. So we're jumping straight into qualifying and smashed it into Q2 relatively easy. Q2 was a bit more difficult. You can see we're just on the cusp, but we managed to get on our third lap at least. We managed to just about bank it into Q3, grabbing the P9 position. So that helped out quite a little bit in regards of this track, because obviously it's quite important to get a really good qualifying. Now, here's the thing. The race is going to be wet, so I had to set my car up a specific way. So I set my car up for dry conditions on the assumption everyone else would have dry, and just kind of bang it out and see what we can do. So our first lap puts us P3. Obviously not everyone had done their laps at this point, so we're P5 currently. And on lap 2, we're up a little bit more, not by much, but we're in a little bit on downforce, but we did manage to actually get the fastest time, which was actually pretty mental, all things considered. But we tried to go again, and unfortunately we didn't actually make it round. And everyone knows how this game is. When you simulate qualifying, it messes you up and you lose positions. But for us, somewhat luckily, it actually managed to keep us in pole position, so we managed to get pole, but it glitched. The time when I crossed the line, it glitched out, and Leclerc was actually the fastest, but for whatever reason, it gave us the pole position. So I'm not quite sure what happened there, but this game obviously doing its bits, being a bit glitchy to say the least. But you know, pole position in Monaco, I'm not really going to complain. I can't really complain. It's the best we could have done, and obviously around this track you need it, so we're just going to have to sandbag and just hold everyone up. We're in pole position alongside Pierre Gasly. Both Ferraris on road 2. Hamilton ahead of Max Verstappen, Bottas P7, Hülkenberg and Daniel Ricciardo 8th and 9th, Grosjean making it into the top 10, Magnussen and Kimi Räikkönen, Carlos Sainz followed by Sergio Perez, Lando Norris ahead of Danny Kvyat, Alex Albon ahead of Lance Stroll, and surprise surprise, back row of the grid is the Williams. So like I said earlier, it's going to be a wet race all the way through, and I've got a dry car. My car's set up to dry spec, so it's going to be a bit of a nightmare. We should be okay in straight line speed, but traction on the corners and through the corners is going to be a bit of a nightmare. We'll have to see what this man, the hometown favourite Charles Leclerc, can do in his home Grand Prix in the Ferrari. We have obviously got Pierre Gasly, the man starting just behind us. Almost a home race for him, but there we are. There is our beautiful Alfa Romeo car, which will be starting on pole position. It's going to be a really tricky race, especially it's going to be not that hard to defend overtakes, but in terms of pit stops and overtakes and undercuts, that's where we could struggle potentially. But you know, it's going to be difficult. It really is, but we're going to do the best we can, of course, as we come up to the start of the grid. But Monaco's difficult as it is, and in the wet conditions it'll be even more difficult. But all we can do is just do our best and just hope to Lord that we can keep at least on the podium. That's the goal, is to at least get a podium here. If we get the win, that'd be absolutely phenomenal. But you can see we've got a new helmet for this race. Almost completely different to the last one. It's a little bit more easy on the eye, and obviously it's white, which goes with the car a little bit more, and a little bit of black and stuff like that. But we're waiting for the lights to come on. We've got 3 lights, 4, 5 lights, and we are underway in Monaco. We get off to a really good start, cover off Pierre Gasly, go straight to the left hand side, and we're just going to hold off all challenges in the turn 1 and get into the lead straight away, which is obviously what we want for the Monaco Grand Prix. So we'll have a look at the replay for the start. Nothing happened with us, we got straight into the lead, but behind us there's a bit more of a battle, to say the least. Further up back, you can see not much happening into turn 1 there, but we've got Hamilton and Vettel actually going side by side up the hill. Through the first couple of corners we've got Verstappen and Bottas also going side by side. Hamilton and Vettel are the ones we're going to fixate on here, all the way up the hill, all the way through Casino Square, side by side, as we're going to come into the end of sector 1, coming up to the hairpin. Nothing can separate these two at the moment. The fact they've gone side by side all the way through is insane. But Vettel does manage to just about beat out Lewis Hamilton in that position. But a little bit more of drama into turn 1 was actually the Renault of Nico Hülkenberg, who ends up just understeering wide into the barrier and loses a big old chunk of his front when Kimi was running to the back of him, which is not good for our teammate. But Hülkenberg is going to be struggling and holding up quite a few people when it comes into later on in the race. We get the fastest lap. Obviously that's an extra point, you know, we could do with to try and maximise our efforts here. But on lap 6, you see we've got Gasly right behind us. He's going to maybe look to make a move, and we have to go nice and deep into the swimming pool chicane. Jesus Christ. But Gasly actually ends up having a really poor exit. Leclerc actually gets past him there because he really compromised himself. But Vettel's going to have a look at Pierre Gasly now. He's going to go up the inside. This is so tight around this section. Now we're coming into the swimming pool chicane, and Vettel's going to understeer into the barrier and lose a nice little chunk of his front wing. So Vettel is going to be incredibly slow. We're moving on to the start of lap 9 just about now. You can see another fastest lap. So we're trying to pull a bit of a gap to Vettel. We're also trying to maintain the fastest lap, but now Leclerc is going to have a go at us. We're going to have to go wide again into this corner. He's gone round. Leclerc has gone round. I think maybe he hit the inside barrier. We're going to have a look at a replay from Leclerc. Fantastic camera angles, normal, and yeah, as you can see, he spins it round by hitting the barrier, and he just chucks it round. Pretty amateur mistake-ish, easy to do. I know I've done it plenty of times, especially in the other Formula 1 games. It's very easy to do if you take it too quick. You're going to have a look from the rear wing of Leclerc, probably get you a better angle of what actually happened to his tyre. Yeah, just clipped it on the exit. Not much you can really do in that position, but Gasly's up another position. That's obviously going to make Pierre Gasly very happy, man. But like I said earlier about Nico Hülkenberg holding up some people, but he's struggling, and we've got pulled out a massive gap to Nico Hülkenberg, and it's not getting any better for him. If you look on the minimap how far behind they are, and Vettel obviously the same thing there. Vettel lost a bit of his front wing, so you know we're just pulling a gap. But we've got Pierre Gasly going up our inside. Actually made quite a bit of contact, so we're rallying all the way through this section here, and Gasly was still on our inside coming up to the end of that corner. So Gasly's being really punchy at this Grand Prix. We're going to have a look at a replay, and you can see he just sends one up the, and we didn't really have much time to defend that, to be fair. It was quite difficult. We managed to just hold him off a little bit, but Leclerc has caught back up to us, and we're getting on board from Leclerc. You can see how tight it is around here and how close we were from putting us both in the wall, and Leclerc obviously ended up running away with the Grand Prix there. But moving on a little bit further, we're not doing too bad. We've got a little bit of a gap. Leclerc had already pitted by this point, so we're in undercut territory from Leclerc. So we're going to have to try and get in, get out as fast as we can, and hopefully Leclerc doesn't jump us. It's going to be really tight, especially in these conditions. I said at the beginning of the race, the undercut is what we're going to be worrying the most, because you know we can defend everyone as best we want, but if it comes to an undercut, it's going to be extremely difficult. Good stop by the team, and there is Leclerc in the background. We're going to have to come out. He's going to go past us before we get into turn 1. We're going to have to rag this all the way around into turn 1, and there's nothing we can do. We literally took that pit exit at the best of our abilities, and he managed to get through. But we're going to hold on to the back of Leclerc, and the following lap, you can see we're right at the back of his gearbox, understeered. I'm going to dive it down, almost Jules Bianchi-esque, and we managed to actually get past Charles, and that was a very, very gutsy overtake, to say the least there. We managed to just about make it, but we understeered, bounced over the sausage curb, and somehow managed to get it slowed down to go up the inside of Charles Leclerc. That was a fantastic overtake, if I do say so myself. But it's tricky conditions. Leclerc wasn't that great. Obviously, I used a lot of ERS and rich mix and stuff like that, but just try and get that position. But we're coming to the end of this race now. We're in the final quarter of the race, and Leclerc's going to try and do what Gasly did. Is that he's going to go the long way around. We're going to go up the inside, hold in the inside barrier. Leclerc is still just about there, and he's going to put him back into the clutches of Gasly. Try and make matters a little bit worse for him. But up the hill we're struggling a little bit, because we've got to try and recover back all the energy that we lost, as well as the fuel that we lost. So we're struggling a little bit up the hill and through the tunnel, where we obviously got overtaken before. But from Gasly, this is his perspective, and you can see how almost he had to slam on the brakes there just to avoid Leclerc, because that would have been obviously very dangerous. But again, we're going to go round, and it's just so tight. Now Gasly's trying to make a move on Leclerc, and he actually made it. Leclerc actually made that move stick somehow, and he almost gets us on the run down into sector 2. But it's very, very tedious. We're just about hanging on. Pulled a little bit of a gap there, but Leclerc and Gasly obviously battling back and forth, getting positions here and there. We're just trundling along, trying to set the fastest lap and make sure we get that 26 points if possible. But final few stages of this race, you can see our tyres are getting all over the place, and we almost put it in the barrier. Leclerc tries to go around our outside, but we're not going to have any of that. Thank you very much, Charles. It's just an absolute nightmare in terms of trying to keep our car on the track. Alexander Albon has got an engine failure by the looks of it, because that is a lot more smoke than it is wet spray. So Albon is going to have to retire the car, unfortunately for him. He's going to have to pull up maybe just before the last corner, but he wasn't having too bad of a race, but you know, it's quite difficult. In the final few laps, you've got Gasly again trying to make a move. He hits us, he loses a bit of his front wing. We're going to go a little bit sideways as well. So Gasly actually in a lot of trouble. We're going to go side by side. We're going to have to accidentally push him towards the barrier. He may have some damage from that incident. So Leclerc's going to get past Gasly, and that's going to put us in a little bit of a world of hurt here, just for the fact of Gasly. I don't know what he was thinking. It was very, you know, audacious to go around my outside there, and then again around the inside here. Didn't intentionally put him in the wall there, but you know, through the line that I took, and he's actually let Leclerc through, and he's not going to be able to finish with that damage. So Pierre's actually going to have to pit on the last lap of the race. By this point, everyone had almost caught up. Bottas, the Mercedes, Hulkenberg. So that's going to put Gasly down the order. Bless him up, bless us up. We've gone incredibly deep on another. We just can't defend at this point. Our tyres are so shot. But we're still going to get a better exit than Leclerc, and we're going to have to dive down his inside. We've got no choice. We're going to go really deep, and we managed to just about make this position. I think Leclerc saw us coming, knew we would try and make that position back, and just thought, you know what, we're not fighting that. We'll take the podium. Would have loved a race win for Leclerc, of course, but we're going to come across the line now to take our first win of the season, and probably the only win of the season. I can't see us winning many more races, if that, let alone podiums, but we managed to hold on for the Monaco GP win. A difficult race all round for sure, but it was a fantastic race overall. It really, really was. But it was difficult conditions. Obviously, the fighting with Pierre and Leclerc for the majority of the race, at least, and we actually managed to make it through and managed to hold on, which is, you know, obviously what we want, and we don't want any dramas in terms of crashes and stuff like that. But you know, next race should be interesting. In Canada, but we're going to look at the driver's standings now after round 6. Leclerc is leading the way ahead of Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel, Pierre Gasly, and Valtteri Bottas. So we're just behind Valtteri Bottas, but ahead of Verstappen, which is interesting. So obviously we jumped up quite a bit. Kimi Räikkönen is still in 10th. In terms of the constructors, not much has changed. We have now jumped Renault in the constructors. Obviously, again, those 25 points did really help, and obviously McLaren now on 3 points ahead of the Williams that has 0. But that's been it for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed this race. Next one definitely won't be as long. I've got nothing really to focus on now other than these videos until the launch of 2019. But till then, guys, take care and bye bye.